It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. The Sports Hit List presents Smoking Mirrors with Declan Krogman and the Polius Brothers, Greg and Stefan, breaking down the biggest news in sports, giving you the stories behind the story. Here for all the smoke, all the time, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good afternoon and welcome to Smoking Mirrors. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside my fellow host, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. And as you see, we all have our headwear on today.
It's a fact.
I was going to say.
It wasn't even playing.
It wasn't playing. It was not playing. Not at all. How you fellas doing today?
I'm all right. I'm a little gassed, but I'll be all right. Got a lot of schoolwork to finish. But I want to shout out my son for this tie-dye headband that he made yesterday at an event. So shout out to little man KJ.
It looks good, man. It looks official.
Thank you.
You can buy that. You can buy that at like an Old Navy. You know what? No. Better yet, it'd be Urban Outfitters. Urban Outfitters.
Definitely. Probably have this on Amazon for like $10 and $7 shipping.
Yeah. I was gonna say like 25 at least. That's one of those like vintage, not even vintage, but one of those like like limited time edition. Like you're not gonna find it in a couple of months. Well, that's nice from our. I'm surprised it's not aqua and orange from our resident Dolphins fan. That's not.
I know, right?
But looks fire. I mean, you know what? I guess Steph's rocked the headband on the show. Greg's rocked the headband on the show. Well, I know what I'm wearing on Friday. I'm not even going to tell you what kind of headband it is. We'll see. But yeah, all right. We got our outfit picks. That's good. It wasn't even by design.
Not at all. But yeah, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today on Monday. Pretty beautiful day out. I think it's gonna be partly cloudy. I'm looking forward to getting some walking action in, getting some sunlight, some vitamin D. But before that, we're gonna do this show. And one of the things that I'm excited to talk about is fantasy basketball. For those of you out there that are in a fantasy basketball league, you're most likely in the playoffs right now. Monday starts the playoffs for you.
That's really funny, Steph. I'm glad that you said most likely to just throw it out there.
It's just being put out there that way. All right, very fair, very even keel. But yes, so it's fantasy basketball playoff time. For those that are in the fantasy playoffs, congratulations. Those that did not make it, I'm sorry. It is an unfortunate event when you do not make the playoffs. I will say that at the Sports Hit List, we have our own fantasy basketball league. And, I'm in that league. Greg's in that league. And
I'm not in that league.
Yeah, Declan's not in it. He didn't commit to it. But I half-heartedly committed to it, not knowing enough. I will say, for those that do know a little bit about the NBA, I drafted Hassan Whiteside in the 5th round. That gives you a good picture of what my draft looked like. All right.
And you still made the playoffs? Now I feel terrible about myself because I wanted to emulate Lob City as if it was still a functioning thing.
No. Hassan Whiteside, 5th round. All right. Still managed to get in. Joel Embiid's on my team. I do have Damian Lillard. Like I found some good picks, but there were also some really bad picks. Most of the year I was about 7th or 8th place. This is a 6-team playoff setup. So I was trying my hardest from when I realized how bad I drafted till last week, which was a pivotal week for me. I was going against, I think he was the fifth, not the 5th seed. Was he the 6th seed, maybe?
6th seed.
6th seed, right?
Yeah.
Going against 6th seed. So he was sitting there, pretty expecting to be in the playoffs.
Oh, the 6th seed being Anthony Mullen of the Sports Hit List. That guy.
Yes, I was going to keep him nameless.
Of the infamous...
Oh, no. We drop names here.
It's all right. No, it's okay.
This put it out there. This is not a TMZ anonymous source. Anthony Mullen of the infamous momentum debate on this show.
Yes, that person. So, we went back and forth all throughout the week, and he was very confident. We have a whole group chat together. I don't really participate in the group chat that often, but I monitor. There were many naysayers not believing that I was going to be able to make it. However, your boy did his job and made his pickups, and a lot of the players he acquired over the season started to perform well during the week. He finished 7-2, on the week. So 7 categories out of the 9 that you can have. And,
You're just really committing to this like third person thing right now.
I mean, it's a whole thing. So, the team name is Basketball Jones. And now for all those in the sports, let's say no, but now in the world, you know that Basketball Jones is in the playoffs. No one expected Basketball Jones to make the playoffs, Anthony Mullen included. Now, Anthony Mullen, former 6th seed, is now 7th or 8th seed, I think, in the consolation bracket. 8th seed. It doesn't even matter at that point, right? Like 7, 10, whatever.
Change his name.
You ain't in the playoffs, baby. But
change his name to Utah Jazz.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited for myself. For those of you who had a very exciting finish like I did, it feels even sweeter. I don't even have to win the first round, baby. I wasn't supposed to be in the playoffs. Here I am. That's an amazing feeling.
Yo, you know what's crazy? Granted, my team had injuries, but I got smoked. Like, Anthony Mullen, I lost 8-1, got smoked, and still managed to finish as a 5 seed, and you couldn't even make the playoffs. That tells you didn't do what you were supposed to do, bro.
All right, so I guess we're going on the Anthony Mullen slander hit piece today. I didn't realize
it is well deserved.
There's been a lot of hot talk in that group chat, and I didn't even brag. Greg brought it up. He was saying how Steph managed to get into the playoffs. He snuck in. I was in the cut. I don't talk in the group chat, so I was making my moves on the low, right? Just making sure I do what I have to do, picking up the guys I think were worth picking up, and it paid off. So I started hearing chatter from Mullen, Ant. And it was just unnecessary. Take your L like a gentleman and keep walking. He can't take it like a gentleman because he yaps too much. But it's okay because we all need people like that in our lives because they motivate us to be better. All right. So, and thank you so much. Thank you so much. That the 6th spot feels great. I'm going to do my best job of not being you and trying to win this coming week.
I don't remember our notes for this show saying opening segment, just trash Anthony Mullen.
You know what? It went from that. It was really just going to be me talking about fantasy basketball for a hot second. But between me sending that message in our group chat when we talked about the outline for today and Anthony Mullen showing his whole butt cheeks, I had to add this portion in here. So the slander was necessary. Anyone that plays fantasy and has dealt with any kind of person that talks smack, it feels nice when you get the W and you can rub it in their face. Just like
it would have been great to have that moment playing Paul Lawson in fantasy baseball, except your league didn't start till week 2.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, a late draft and ESPN's changed rules. But we have a lot more fantasy talk coming up later. That was just a little snippet for you guys. Again, fantasy basketball playoffs. Good luck to all those that are in the playoffs. And for those that are in the consolation bracket, enjoy. I don't know if your leagues have a setup where maybe you win something or you don't want to be the last place one because you end up doing something crazy or wild.
I haven't set my lineup since before the election. I can't even remember the last time I set my lineup.
That is something we should have discussed about last place finishes.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was a last place finisher before the draft.
No, not in that league. We were talking about the VIP league.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a nice little shot you take there. You know what? Why don't you VIP this? I'm
that's what it's called.
It is called the VIP league.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be in the VIP basketball league. All right.
Hey, no one said it. You're projecting right now, really. And
invisible invite declined. All right.
Right.
Don't even come to me next year.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Declan wants no parts of next year's league, which I don't think you were going to be invited anyway. But playoffs, right? Just remember that. I don't care what smack talk you can say. I made the playoffs. So
I'm Anthony Mullen. What is this?
You
know what you sound like?
Moving on.
Hold on. You know what you sound like? You sound like those Yankee fans in 2017 when they made the ALCS and were saying, "But it was a rebuilding year. We shouldn't have been here." And they made Game 7, and that was how they dealt with the loss. That's what you sound like. You're preparing for, and you should have included this in your third person monologue. You're preparing for a potential beatdown next week in whatever this VIP league is.
I just want you to know that was completely and utterly unnecessary.
So Basketball Jones is not the Yankees. We're going to be just fine. No one's preparing for a loss this week. I'm looking to win.
Funny.
All right. That's how I got to this point because I'm looking to win, baby. All right, so moving on. Like I said, we have fantasy later on in the show, but want to get into some baseball. Do our little MLB roundup, which is fun, talking about some things that happened during the weekend. Oh, really? Well, it's going to be during the weekend because we talked to you guys on Friday. I want to lead with this one because, I don't know, I'm feeling good, off a high, made the playoffs.
How many times are you going to mention it?
Enough times to matter. So, for those that do remember, when we made our predictions for who was going to win the division, we had 8 teams that were going to go in. We had our first place finishes, obviously second and third. I picked the Mariners. And it's still early, but I just want to point out the Mariners are at the top of the AL West. That being said, 10-6 early on in the season, not a big one, but does it feel good to at least be right for a portion of the season? They've been to get at least one win in every series. They've won a few series, and now they're on top of the division. Their offense is not spectacular. It's been a little gritty. I think all of the players there's no one player that's really, crushing it. They're contributing in the way that they can.
And they still have injuries to Kyle Lewis and what's the prospect that the Mets traded away?
Kalanick.
Yeah, he's not even up yet.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
He's my
who's been really good? Who's been really good? And I drafted him in fantasy. I was all over the train. Kikuchi, the left-handed pitcher for.
He's throwing hard, a lot harder than I think last season.
Dude, he's getting a dom too. He's going like 6 innings, 10 Ks, like 1 or 2 runs. He pitched good against the Astros for like 6 innings, and then he gave up like 3 or 4 runs in the 7th inning and lost me in quality start. I didn't expect the win. But man,
he has been impressive, I think, and I stayed away from him in fantasy drafts just because I didn't expect him to like perform on that level.
Yeah. Well, you get him in the 20th round, like it's a shot.
I mean,
oh
yeah, for sure. Anyone at that point, I think is worthwhile on a draft.
Him or JD Davis is kind of who you're in between.
Yeah.
At that point,
true, injured right now, but so that's my Mariners. We also have a bit of breaking-ish news. Jay Bruce retired. For those that didn't know. And, I mean, guy had a illustrious career, moving around from 6 different teams. But he wasn't playing too well for the Yankees at this point. And I think for him, he knew where he could be and where he wanted to be, rather. And decided to, go into Aaron Boone's office and let him know that he wanted to retire. He was batting 118 on the season. But this is a guy that for his career was a 244 batter, 319 home runs, 951 RBIs, played in 16, well, it's about 1,650 games. But he was important, and I think when he was drafted by the Reds, you saw the potential there. Home run hitter, not really an average guy, but that's kind of what the game ended up becoming. So Jay Bruce really fit into that mold. Deck, as a Yankee fan, man, how are you feeling? Did you feel a little? I mean, he's not like he was like a Yankee in that sense, but how do you feel about the retirement?
I mean, he didn't even hit 35 at bats for the Yankees. So as a Yankee fan, I'm not necessarily bothered or upset about it. That said, congrats him on a great career. I remember him as a Red, a Met, and an Indian. I know he had stints with the Phillies, Mariners, and obviously the Yankees. But I view him as that guy who was hit. Yes. I view him as that guy who was hitting shots, out of right field in Great American Ballpark, and then was part of that 22-game win streak with the Indians and had a little nice run there in the Mets before they traded him, and then went back to the Mets. Can't complain too much there. That was a good move in 2016 when they tried to make a playoff run and get him. But yeah, shout out to Jay Bruce on a hell of a career, and we wish him the best.
Definitely. So I wanted to shout that out for Jay Bruce and those Yankee fans. Farewell, Jay Bruce. Enjoy retirement. Someone that is currently in the game and dominating, besides DeGrom, we'll get to that, is Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber is just an impressive pitcher. I've only gotten to watch a few of his games, but on the season right now, he has 4 games where he's accumulated 10-plus Ks. It's just dominance. He's given up some runs. His ERA is currently at 2.45, which it's good, still really good. But it's over 29 innings. He has 48 strikeouts. And I've seen some of the pitches. The slider is nasty. He has a really great curveball. The location with the fastball is really good. It is filthy. And it's great to see that. I'm sure Bieber mania is all the rage in Cleveland. There's not a lot to be excited about.
Bieber fever.
Bieber
2.0.
When you talk about numbers like this, and then when we get into DeGrom, it really makes me think about the science of pitching and how hard it is to hit off guys like this. Because figure what Bieber's 6'2", 6'3"? You know,
I can find that for you. Give me a second.
The pitcher's mound is 60 feet away. So by the time he's striding, say he has a 7 to 8 foot stride, he's already 55 feet or less before he releases the ball. So, and he's throwing 96, 97. The batter has less than half a tenth of a second to react, to not only react, but to know the rotation of the ball, of the pitch, the depth of the pitch, height wise, and if they're going to swing or not.
Yeah.
It's
he's
amazing.
He's 6'3", so he's a big boy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a big boy. He's probably 8 foot stride or 8.5 foot stride.
Manny did not pick Shane Bieber as his Cy Young pick. He picked Garrett Cole and Jacob DeGrom, as did everyone else besides me, who picked Aaron Nola and Lucas Giolito, who had a bad start today.
But Nola had a great start.
Man.
No, yeah, he threw his first career complete game.
Yeah,
Chuck dropped in to say he hates the Yankees. The Yankees suck.
We're going to talk more Yankees. Don't worry.
Cole
we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Cole has been good, but that's about
it.
He's
good yesterday.
One thing I did want to round out with is fun and exciting for all baseball fans. The Dodgers and the Padres played. First 3-game series we're seeing against them, and it gave us everything we wanted to, right?
It felt like a playoff game.
It did feel like it was that atmosphere, the energy that was in the stadium from the players. The Dodgers did take the series, 2 out of the 3, but we're talking about close games. The first game was 6-11, but they went into extra innings. In the 12th inning, the Dodgers put up 5 runs. But after that, you have on Saturday, it was 0-2. The Dodgers won. They won 2-0. And then yesterday, we had the Padres winning 5-2. And this is with, a ailing Fernando Tatis, who has not been up to snuff, as Deck was speaking to earlier before the season started. He has struggled a little bit out the gate, but
big time.
Pitching
not a little bit, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. You're right.
Yeah,
a lot.
And I'll say this quickly. I know we saw Trevor Bauer strike him out. Steph, you were going your little Mariners pick, saying it feels good to be right this early in the season. It feels pretty decent to be right with Tatis. Right now he's hitting 130 or 129. Which is not the MVP that he was projected to be. And I would say a lot of people, not just in this room or virtual room, would pick. He's struggling big time. He's not hitting the ball well. Strikeout percentage is up from last year, I believe. He'll right the ship. He's not going to be this bad all year. I'm not willing to press the panic button yet, but he has had the IL stint, kind of like I saw it was the same shoulder. We'll see if he can right the ship. Aaron Judge has been pretty good this year, and he's had a couple multi-home run games. So, you know what? I've had enough. Enough of him.
Greg, do you have any parting words before we head out?
Yes, please. Headband Greg.
I just think that it's going to be the best rivalry in baseball for the next couple of years, and I love it. I want to see more of it.
Agreed. I'm excited for it. I think all of baseball is. But with that, we're heading to commercial break. Like I said, as always, stay locked in. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Hit List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polis, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polis. And we also have our special guest today, Brian Krogman. He's here to talk some more baseball and to give us some fantasy insight. For those who remember, Brian is our guru. We lean on him for most of our intel when he's not in the same league as us. How you doing, Brian?
How you doing, fellas?
I'm good. Doing well. I just want to say before we get into our talk, because we are going to start talking a little Mets. I'm excited about that. I wanted to speak to what Declan said about Tatis just a little bit. And it's something that you spoke about, in that same segment when we talked about Tatis, because you brought up Acuna and you brought up, why am I spaced on the
Juan
third?
Soto.
Thank you. Not Juan Soto. Juan Soto's doing great after being on the IL. But you spoke when you speak about when you spoke about, I should say, Tatis's play style. He said it was a little wild, and I just wanted to say I watched the Acuna because Acuna got injured yesterday. He was sliding in. Well, he slid head first into first to get back on a pickoff, and then slid head first into home to try and make a play, and he did, and he played hard. And I know typically you would call that a wild style, similar to Fernando Tatis, and it led to his injuries. I don't know and I just wanted to ask you quickly, is that something that you see as being wild, like Acuna playing wild, or is that just playing hard?
I mean, I'm old school. I want everyone to play hard. I mean, Pete Rose didn't get hurt that much, did he?
Yeah.
I do think his swing is a little violent.
Tatis?
Just Tatis or Acuna?
Yeah.
No, Tatis. Acuna, I don't see that. I don't. But I do see that that he definitely plays the game the right way. I mean, sometimes you just get injured. But now look at what's happening with Aaron Judge. You can see that he's holding up on diving for balls and running into walls. He's protecting himself.
Yes.
As a Yankee fan, I like that because it is a long season.
Yes.
I do think the young players do play a little quick and fast, and you just got to protect yourself.
I can agree with that. I think that the way Acuna plays, especially being an outfielder where you do have the walls that you can run into, making plays going back on fly balls or line drives, playing hard can be detrimental. I guess more so that I could see in that the play style that Acuna was already hurting before he slid head first at home. He could have gone feet first and maybe he wouldn't have sustained as much of an injury. I think it's a strain to his abdomen. I forget.
Yeah, it looks like it's an
abdominal strain.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say between the two guys quickly is that we have seen Acuna play a full season. We've seen it multiple times where he hasn't had these injury bugs like we've seen with Tatis.
He did get banged up. He got banged up last year, though, didn't he?
Yeah, just played through it.
He played through it. It was a 60-game season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we would even see, Robinson Cano. We would see him. He would jog a different play style, but he would always play 160 games and jog to first. I feel like whatever guys got to do to ensure that they play a full season is their business.
Oh, man, it sounds like you're advocating for Cano's lackadaisical play style.
No, I'm not. I'm saying stay healthy, but you play hard and you play to win.
I understand that. So before we move on, I just would like to say that it's not so much that I think Acuna is injury prone because of that, but I was comparing the play style of Tatis to Acuna, them both playing hard, and one not getting injured, the other one he got injured this time. But Acuna does play hard, just like Tatis plays hard, and injuries can happen. I don't think that the wild play style is like he's going to get injured. It's like those guys play hard, and sometimes when you do that, it can lead to injury. And I think that's the nature of the beast. But I wouldn't want someone to dial it back necessarily if they're trying to win for their team. I think there's smart ways of going about it though, like Brian said.
Definitely.
I think what Judge is doing is good though. Greg?
But I agree. But if I'm the owner paying the salary, and that's a big investment, there's multiple factors to take in. And the biggest worry for me about Tatis, and I think him and Soto are just going to wrecked this league for many years. My biggest fear is that Tatis is the next Troy Tulowitzki, because Troy Tulowitzki, I know
that from the record. You don't want that.
It wasn't too long ago the Mets were like, let's trade for Tulowitzki. This is the piece we need.
Yeah,
and, that's a little worrisome. And also, Steph, you had a shoulder injury, right?
Yes.
These things are complex, and I know that he's out there playing. But I'm very worried. He already made 2 errors over the weekend. He had 3 errors last year. He's got 7 already.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is
5 before his first injury too.
Mm-hmm. And he had 3 all last year. So to me, and then I did research that even if you do have shoulder surgery, sometimes it's still a long road coming back, and it's very worrisome.
To be honest, I don't think the errors is anything physical. You're talking about a guy who has been probably the best hitter on his team his entire life, and now he's at a point in his career where he's struggling like he never has. And I think he has the throwing yips because he's not hitting.
It could be an overcompensation. I mean, you're playing shortstop and you have a shoulder injury. That is definitely
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So Thank you for entertaining that. I wanted to bring it up. We've talked about Tatis. Want to talk about Acuna, but I do want to talk about my Mets. And man,
our Mets.
True. I'm sorry.
We got Mets fans on the top.
I've been feeling myself.
Bottom, which is how the standings are right now.
Our this way, that way.
I heard you play off Steph.
It's a different type of beast, like playoff Rondo. But yeah. So again, for those that are baseball followers, aficionados, you know that Jacob deGrom has been dominant. While Shane Bieber's been dominant, Jacob deGrom has done a better job of keeping guys off base, keeping guys from scoring. He currently has a 0.45 ERA, 0.70 WHIP with 35 Ks in 20 innings. He has had back-to-back games now where he has 14 strikeouts, which is his record, I think, in the league. I was really hoping he'd get 15.
One of those in 6 innings, which is just stupid.
Yes, he was dominant. All right, and this is out in Colorado where balls fly. And he was just missing bats left and right. So you have Jacob deGrom, but following that has been Marcus Stroman, who, for those that are not fans of him in social media, you have to at least appreciate what he's doing on the field right now because he is dominant. This is a former ace of the Blue Jays who has shown that he can keep toe-to-toe with deGrom, not with the strikeouts, but with limiting runs. He has a 0.89 ERA, a 0.69 WHIP with 11 Ks, 3 wins. All right, no losses, where deGrom has 1 win and 1 loss, which we can always talk about that because they do not show up for their horse, which they should. But
they did the other day, though.
Yes, they did.
They bailed them out.
In the doubleheader, which was a 7-inning game. So it was fortunate that they were able to close the game out. But yeah, so you have Stroman, who's done very well, and even Taijuan Walker, who was again an I shouldn't say again,
my
but
favorite offseason pickup.
Yes,
as far as pitching goes.
He did well in the pandemic season, and now he's doing well for the Mets by having a 2.61 ERA, a little higher WHIP at a 1.16, 12 Ks over, I believe, 10 innings. Solid. So those 3 starters, but you have Peterson, who had a little rough start.
Against the Phillies.
Yes. Yeah. 6 earned runs. And then Lucchesi, who has been a little rough, but for the most part, their bullpen has settled down, and their starting pitching is giving them what they want. Brian, I'll kick it to you. What do you think about seeing these Mets, this front rotation, just the rotation in general, especially after offseason acquisitions and some of the moves that didn't happen, like getting a Trevor Bauer?
I love it. And you have Carrasco waiting in the wings. And Lucchesi is just holding that spot. He's going to be the mop-up guy. If Carrasco is healthy, you're really talking depth and really some excellent starting pitching. Bauer would have been fun. You guys would have been talking titles, but I think you still have a path to get there. And also, something that gets forgotten is Steve Cohen was not in the league last year. He didn't lose the money that the owners lost. So come June and July, he's going to be ready to spend, and he's going to get the players he needs.
That's a very good point that I don't think a lot of people have brought up.
Yep.
This is why we have you here, because you bring these things to the table.
But
absolutely.
Exclusively on Smoke and Mirrors. For the other shows, you have to reach out. Please reach out to us first. We're working out a contract with Brian right now.
Yes. He needs him and Chuck need their own fantasy hour.
I learned a lot of stuff on this show. There's some good talk. Oh, by the way, Steph, congratulations on making the fantasy basketball playoffs. Really. And now it's at home, and we're going to raise awareness to this one.
Brian, I appreciate that shout out. It means a lot.
And watch out for these deadbeat guys that don't set their lineups when they're out of here.
Wonder who he's talking about.
Shade.
Isn't that the case?
Unnecessary. Speaking of guys, you did set your lineup, but Dad, you want to tell them how you got screwed by Marcus Stroman this week in fantasy?
Oh, the dreaded lineup lock by CBS. I remember Stroman kind of got screwed on Sunday when
they started him.
Right. So I put him on my bench because he only had 1 start in Colorado later in the week. So the lineup's lock, and then he winds up starting 2 days later against Philly, pitches a gem, and he gets the Colorado start and looks great. So it was only about 15 innings, 1 run, low whip, down the drain.
Yeah, what kind of league is it that it locks at the beginning of the week? That's rough.
Well, CBS don't want they have a mechanism in place where you can't have too many bench players. So you really have to there was an early game that day, and then they postponed it. So that locked your drops, and then it would be
That sounds really intense and frustrating. I'm good.
Yeah.
I played in a CBS league, very similar league, like the locks at the beginning of the week. It's very tough. You look forward to 2-start pitchers. That's what you pretty much do. You try to at least get guys off the wire that will give you quality 2 starts because that will give you the edge just having more starting pitching.
Even in weekly head-to-head, too.
Yeah, in weekly head-to-head too, but like when you lock in the week, it's just like this is going to be it. There's no, I'm going to pick a guy up and then, I'll put him in the lineup when he starts. Like, no, you need that guy early on Monday.
Yeah. Can I head to the comment section for a second?
Oh, please.
We got Manny, our resident comment goat, saying, "Wow, Deck, that was a low blow. Brian, give him a timeout. No MLB The Show for a week."
Well, then
Don't do that to me, Manny.
I am punishing myself because I will play him in a game or two.
We're 1-1 on the year so far. We're 1-1 on the year. We've split.
I don't want to bore the audience, but we'll play the first couple innings. The game is great. Baseball's fun. Around the 6th inning, the faces get red and it gets messy. It really does get messy.
And if we do a 7-inning game, then it happens around the 4th.
Which is nice. Well, I want to say that I'm enjoying the Mets talk. It's fun to see these Mets and know that they actually is a quality team around them, not just the early start they usually get off to with a bad team getting a couple wins and then going downhill. I'm hoping that they keep up this momentum. And the one thing I do want to change is just that run support for Jacob deGrom, because it is absurd how few runs he allows and still ends up with no decisions and losses. But to move on to the other side of town. All right, a little further north here in the Bronx, the Yankees.
You might like this topic more.
Oh, what?
Trashing
Don't say that. Hey, I'm in such a good mood right now. My Mets are winning, top of the division right now. Seattle's winning. I'm in the playoffs. I'm in a real good mood. I'm not even here to trash people, besides Anthony Mullen because he deserves it. But I want to say that on this show, everyone that was on that day that we had to predict who was going to be in the playoffs had the Yankees win the division. I'm pretty sure everyone did. Currently, again, still early, the Yankees are last in the division at 5-10, and the Red Sox are at the top of the division, which I was critical. I think we all were critical of the Red Sox in that first week, and they have bounced back tremendously in terms of offense, and their pitching has held up for them. But Yankees are not doing as well. And Declan, you mentioned it earlier. You have Garrett Cole, who is your horse, that is doing well. He has a 1.85 ERA, I believe. But after that, there's really not much else to help the offense or help the team in general. The next lowest ERA is Montgomery at 4.24. So a lot of the pitching is not held up. Yeah. Pitching has not held up. Your acquisitions haven't really done it for you. The offense isn't clicking the way you want it to. I believe DJ LeMahieu is batting 284, which isn't bad, obviously, but he's leading the team in batting average. So that just shows you where the team is currently compared to where you're used to it being, which is unprecedented in the last 2-3 decades when you think about the Yankees. Deck, I'll let you start with this one because, Brian, you started before. I want to know, Deck, how do you feel? Are you panicking? Do you want some acquisitions early to try and right the ship, or are you going to wait it out and see how it goes?
I'm somewhere in between. I'm not a guy who's going to say, let's go, revamp the whole team. But I'm also not going to say all is well and all is fine. Listen, we're not even a football season length of games into the season. So there's still obviously a ton of time. We'll see what happens with the Yanks. Do I want them to get an acquisition? Yes, Luis Castillo is the guy. It's such a generic name to throw out there because whether you're the Angels, Blue Jays, or just about any team in the American League, not the White Sox or the Indians, this is a guy you want. It would be nice to see the Yankees get him. They'd obviously have to move a ton of pieces, so we'll see if they're in the market for another pitcher. Hopefully, Jameson Taillon can kind of, get his stuff together and fix it. Montgomery, if he's got a little gopheritis, if he can get rid of that, that'll be good. Cole's been doing his thing. Not worried about him. It looks like the Yankees are really feeling the loss of Tanaka, and that's unfortunate to see. And even still, this team has no lefties, and if Odor is our only and best lefty bat, this team is in trouble.
Yeah,
Brian,
what do you think? What are your thoughts? You on the same page, Brian? I'm sorry, with Deck.
I definitely agree with the right-handed lineup. I do have a problem with this. I think that if George Steinbrenner was still around, can you imagine the missives we would be getting this week. Teams, it would be entertaining, but he would.
It would be very.
And this is not just 15 games. We've been we've been coming back with the same group now for 3-4 years. You jettisoned Tanaka and Happ. You brought in Kluber and Tylon, and that's Italian, and that's not improving the pitching staff. It isn't.
Yeah.
You want to go old school. You want to go up the middle, catch a short, and center field. Yeah, there's a problem there, but I think the bats will be all right. It's the pitching that is very concerning, and the makeup of this team. You have Tampa coming in. They are loose as a goose, and they're having fun, and nobody's afraid to play us anymore. I'm not happy.
That's a really key point right there.
Yes.
The lack of fear.
Yes. I'm done with the catcher. I don't like this.
Eddie's not going to be happy to hear that.
He's a Gary Sanchez stan.
I used to be an apologist for him. I know he's been with the organization for since he's 16 years old. A week ago, he hits that ball off the wall. He probably wouldn't have made it to second, but can you at least bust it out of the box?
Give an effort, basically.
Yeah.
He jogged.
I know his effort is there.
What you mean is you want him to play hard.
Yeah, and at the beginning, I want that. Yes.
Get hurt, Declan.
But
Listen, Steph and I play hard. We don't really get hurt. So whatever.
This isn't the first time we've seen this with Gary. We've seen the pass ball. It doesn't look like technique all the time. I want the 1980s catcher. All I need is a 260 average, 15 homers, and play the position, whether it's Benito Santiago or any of the Molinas. But that's
going to the vault.
Get them.
Yes,
you went to the well for that one.
But you know what? Even Gary Sanchez, if we're saying he's an offensive catcher versus the defensive catcher, well, they're both hitting eighth. The defensive catcher hits eighth or ninth, and that's what Gary's at right now. And he's not doing you any favors with the bat. And he's the slowest player in the league, and he might be one of the laziest. Whether it's behind the plate going for pass balls or wild pitches or just hitting the ball and not running to first base. No matter where it is.
Just to jump across the city, Lindor is slumping too. And if
slow start.
If the Mets weren't winning and his pitching and the pitching wasn't as great, they'd be on it. But you know what? Lindor has a smile on his face. He has 3 strikeouts in 37 at bats. He'll be fine. I don't like Gleyber's body language. I really don't. He's getting up there. He's trying to hit a home run when there's a man on third, and Lindor might be pressing a little bit, but Gary Gleyber is definitely really trying to swing for the fences every time.
There's more pressure on Gleyber for sure right now, I believe. But Greg, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about these Yankees?
So Manny has been saying for years that he wanted Tony Pena as the manager of the Yankees. And Chuck also made a comment today that I think kind of holds true. In Aaron Boone's presser, his Zoom presser, he said, Aaron Boone is doing everything he can do within his power currently. Right. Chuck said Aaron Boone is a therapist and press secretary. And based on a comment like that, I really think Aaron Boone is not a manager. He's a figurehead. And I think there's no player-manager relationship there. It's more like a business relationship. And kind of speaking to what Brian said about, teams aren't fairing them and they're playing loose because there's the players want to play for their manager. It doesn't seem like the Yankee players want to play for an Aaron Boone because he's still kind of cooped up and guarded and the front office is not allowing him to manage how he wants to.
But that might be on Cashman in the front office and not on Aaron Boone
But that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
I do think that that's today's game, that a lot of managers are like this, that these moves are coming from the front office. I mean, last week we were taking – I heard – and I was in full agreement with all the shots we were taking with Rojas on the Mets. But now they're winning, so he gets a pass. So
as it usually
no, he's still on a hot seat for me. I still got him.
But the media is not going after him the way they would if they were losing. So I agree with Brian on that. But
and
on that note, we're going to go to commercial break. He doesn't. But on that note, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be right back. We're going to continue talking baseball. And again, we said we're going to have some fantasy that's going to come up right after break. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be right back.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is Smoke and Mirrors on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. This is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports List on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside my fellow hosts, Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. And again, we have our special guest, Brian Krogman here, dropping all types of knowledge for us. Brian, always appreciate you being on. But with that being said, we're going to start with Brian because we want to talk a little fantasy. For those that are playing fantasy baseball, it's a long season. A lot happens in that season. Players get hot, players cool off, and there tends to be a lot of overreactions, right? As long as I've played, it's always been the case. Guys you pick up, guys you drop. And that could not make or break a season, but it can make a difference, especially when you drop a guy that ends up getting picked up by someone else and goes off. It's happened to me a number of times, and it's infuriating. But, Brian, it does. But, not everybody has the ability to have Brian along to help him with that information. And I know I'm tooting your horn a lot, but I think you deserve it. And so, Brian, with that, I want to know, what are some overreactions you're seeing from, your leagues, and just advice that you have for those that might be ready to, cut bait? Would you say that they should hold on, or is it worth actually, maybe cutting that bait and moving on to the next hot piece on the wire?
Yeah, well, your top players, I like Memorial Day as a good weathering stick to assess your team. But when you have these fringe-like type players, your last 5 or 6 guys, you should definitely see what's on the waiver wire, and you can churn the roster. And that's why, like, when you see a Mercedes or
he's the Terminator
or Baddoo on the Tigers, get them. Mm-hmm. Get them. If they peter out, you can drop them, but you want to be on board with that. Having said that, I wouldn't trade for them necessarily because you could get burnt and lose some of your capital. But to start it off, like I said before with Lindor, I'm not going to worry about usually I look for a strikeout rate, and on the pitcher side, I look for a strikeout rate minus walk rate. That's a good barometer on how you guys are. And Lindor struck out 3 times. I think he's pressing because he's in New York. He just needs one of those Hideki Matsui grand slam moments. For a game-winning hit and the weather.
Haley agrees.
Yeah. I thought that was Michael K's call of the home run. Signature moment.
Ooh, that was good. Good time.
And with the weather warming up, I think once he gets over the hump, he's going to break loose.
Yeah. I agree. And now, what was your what is kind of your take on Tatis? I know you had him predicted, like myself, to have a slight regression this year. And I know you're not a fantasy owner of him, but what would you say to the fantasy owners of Fernando Tatis Jr. at this point in time?
All right, I'll make a comment, and then we have to move on from it. I think we're beating it to death, right? We're beating it to death with Tatis. I didn't like the shoulder injury coming from the spring, and the regression that, yes, Declan made, but I have read that online. It was all baked in to the cost of having the injury in place. And I would be a little worried. And I really think that if this don't work out, he's going to be removed and he's going to get the surgery. I just feel like it's very risky to be up. I mean, I'm not a medical person, but I do think that to go out there with a shoulder injury, and now what I saw over the week, he did hit a home run, but I do think that this bulky shoulder, and when you're investing in that type of money long term, I think I would lean towards putting him on the shelf, and actually to the effect of just coming back fresh, hopefully in 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the whole season, but I do understand. I think the 10-day IL was rushed, just to get him back, maybe to change the narrative, because it was kind of a blow to see him go down the way he did. So I agree that a longer stint, especially if he continues to struggle defensively and offensively, makes sense. That's just the logical step for the Padres to take. And as an owner, spending that kind of money on a player, like you said, is important. So I agree with that. The regression, we'll see more. I mean, we'll see as the season plays out. As it is now, it's that strikeout rate. Deck, I already conceded to that. That is a big problem. And usually with young guys, you can see that strikeout rate coming down. Like his strikeout rate from year one into the pandemic season did come down slightly, but that shoulder injury is playing a big part of it. Now, the non-throwing arm is the left, but it's still something that you're seeing taking place in the backswing and just in, maybe his confidence when he's playing.
The front shoulder, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I did want to ask Brian for you is any pickups, because I made a Jed Lowry pickup, which was bittersweet because ex-Met, obviously, the last place he was at, played 2 games, maybe 3 games. I was speaking to my teammates this weekend. He was in a handful of games. When I say handful,
that's so funny. That's so funny because he had picked him up and he was bragging about it all week. How he's got Jed Lowry in a Mets hat on his picture, hitting like 360 all week for the Oakland.
Yeah, the profile pic has him in a Met hat. That's great to see.
It hurts my heart, but I did find out from a teammate this weekend that Jed Lowry won the championship for the Cyclones for the Mets. So, if you want to look at his tenure with the Mets, which he got a lot of money, right, for not doing anything really, he did win a chip. He did win a chip for the Brooklyn Cyclones. So silver lining, even if you don't like the minors and you don't care about that, something came back to the Mets at least for all the money they spent.
So you're saying that if the Nets win the chip this year, they won't be the first Brooklyn team to do it?
I am not.
Besides the Dodgers, obviously.
I'm not gonna go that far. I don't want to put that claim out there. I'm gonna let the Nets own that. But it's nice to have a chip for a minor league team, and Jed Lowry contributed to it. But Brian, I wanted to know, what are your thoughts? What do you think? Is any guys out there that you would say that you picked up on the wire that you can give some advice for?
Well, it does matter how deep the league is, so it's very tough to know who's out there. I will say Super 2 is coming soon, right? So if Alex Kirilloff is still sitting out there, I would jump on him because Minnesota should play him. The guy that bats leadoff for Baltimore, Cedric Mullins, he should be scooped up already. DJ Stewart's another guy, but these are deep pickups. If you're in a shallow league, Lowry definitely should be. He's a great middle infielder guy. And then if you get an owner that panics and drops one of these players that CJ Cron, everybody is down on, but he's still in Colorado. He can put up 35 home runs, and I would bench him, but I would not drop him. On the flip side, there's definitely some closers out there. I think Jake McGee, as he's got COVID, Tyler Rogers should probably fill in for him in San Francisco. And then Billy McKinney is going to fill in Milwaukee. That's a deep league. He's an old Yankee, right?
Yeah.
Because Yelich is on the IL also.
Yes. Damn. That is great information. For all those that's sticking around, those are nuggets, right? Compliments of Brian Krogman.
All my gotta keep you on retainer.
Exactly. All my friends are texting me right now saying, I just got a text from one of my buddies. That was my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Aiden. I might need to make some pickups based off what your dad said.
If he's in a 10-team league, though, that's not good. We're
in a 14-teamer.
Like if he's in a league where Chris Taylor is available on the Dodgers, and you get what's great about Chris Taylor is if you have on Monday morning you have an infielder or an outfielder get injured, you could just plug Chris Taylor, and all of a sudden he's batting first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's that in the Dodgers? McKendry or the second baseman? He's getting some playing time too.
Over Gavin Lux.
McKinstry or something. Yeah, something like that. But
begin the name.
if you're in a roto league, you want to acquire at bats. The more at bats, the more runs and RBIs you get. Whereas head to head, you want to just get your stars and you want to get your big boppers. Whereas roto, you can get compilers.
The whole season, man, going against every single league.
Zach McKinstry. So,
that's
the second baseman you're looking at.
He's
Gavin Lux on the IL.
And Avisail Garcia on the Brewers. Because Yelich is going to open up things in that outfield, and I don't know how long these guys are on the IL. It's so tricky. Baseball is so crazy. Would you ever think a week ago that Tatis would be in the lineup, but Bellinger would still be out?
Yeah,
Bellinger's going to celebrate 420 tomorrow. Absolutely. Hopefully not during the game.
Well, he'll have the free time for sure. That being said, that's our show. I really want to thank Brian for coming on and, as always, dropping the knowledge, helping us out, giving us information to y'all, really, because if you are in a fantasy league, those pickups can help you. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you, guys, and thank you to the listeners. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes. So this is Smoke and Mirrors, presented by the Sports Idiots on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'm your host, Stephen Polius, alongside Declan Krogman and Greg Polius. This is our Monday show. We'll be back on Friday. We'll see you then. Take care and enjoy the week.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.